Welcome to the More Than More podcast, where we discuss building meaningful, impactful businesses, careers, and lives through real estate. I'm here with Megan Mitchum. How are you?
I am great.
Not just Megan Mitchum. Megan Mitchum, the number one producer for 2024. I'm not supposed to put you on a pedestal, but that's a pretty big pedestal. So congratulations, rock star.
Thank you.
It's been 2 months since our awards banquet. I'll apologize for the fact that we've taken so long to get this recording done, but we all got caught up with things. But I would be totally remiss to not get to interview you after the celebration of your 2024. So yeah, let me start with congratulations.
Thank you.
There was no surprises. It's not like Nicole where we shocked her with her award. You kind of knew you were going to have a big night at the awards banquet, right?
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Yes.
Good. And back to business now, right?
Yes. So like I say, every year we all go back to zero, January 1.
A bunch of you guys say that. I don't think that that's entirely true. I guess it is. But
It is.
You've been going back to zero, but zero has been slightly bigger every year that I've known you.
Yeah. But
More zeros.
we still all go back to the same place.
Remind me, because I was thinking about it when I was writing down some notes. How long has it been now? It's got to be close to 20 years.
Well, it is 20 years.
This year.
Yeah, April 18th was 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. You had a little celebration. I saw the posts.
Yeah.
20 years. Mm-hmm. Did you ever imagine it'd look like this?
No, I mean, I think when you go back to your first, say, 5 years in real estate and what you can, ever imagine selling in a year, it was nowhere near this number. And I think we all can say that. I remember when you were selling and, what your big years were.
Because I was such a hot shot.
Yeah, you were such a hot shot. And we were all like, oh my God, can we just be like Dylan? I can't even imagine what it would be like to sell that much real estate.
And my
in 1
numbers
year.
are just so puny in comparison now to what you guys are doing.
Inflation, man. I mean, come on.
I think it's more than inflation. I think it's inflation. I think it's scale. I think we're able to do much more than we were ever able to do there. And I honestly think you guys are just better. I mean, I think 20 years of becoming pros.
Sure.
I moved fast and I sold a lot, but I was only 4 years in and it was a different world. But I do think that 20 years in, you have more economies of scale, more efficiencies. I think there's inflation. I also think that you've way surpassed anything that I was back then or we were doing in that marketplace. I'm not making this up.
Well, you were still writing contracts on paper at that point too. So we have to go back to that.
And scanning,
faxing.
Scanning the lock boxes every single time for showing information. I
mean, technology plays a really big role in the advancement, I think, for sure.
I'm so grateful for dot loop and yeah. No, and I think it's added to call it the 90-10 rule now. I think we're done with the Pareto principle 80-20. I think it's why top producers are able to do as much as they're able to do, and the business has shifted so much to a small portion of people that are just crushing it.
Yeah.
I think you're one of them. By the way, I don't know if you've got these numbers, but
yes, I do.
You're going to get annoyed with me pretty quickly here because I'm going to keep putting you on the pedestal. 52 million is what I pulled just in looking at it last year. Mm-hmm. I think my number was as big as 8.
I was going to say it was 6, but I'll give you 8.
I think it was 7 and some change. 1.2 million in GCI. I counted 77 sides. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I didn't catch your average sale price. I was looking for that. Do you know what that was?
I think it was about $660-ish.
And that's really, I was going to say inched upwards, but it's really not inched at all. It's ratcheted upwards quite notably in the last, 3-4 years?
Mm-hmm. For sure. And that's been the goal really all along, is every year is to increase the average sale price. And that has been a consistent focus. Tim would always say well, what are you going to do differently to get that goal? And I think the answer is simply, I'm just going to manifest it and think it and write it down and all the,
That's a Megan
and what
response.
you think. Yes, it is. So I think that it's, when you write things down, things tend to happen differently because it's a focus. so I can't say that there's anything, super monumental that changed to make that happen, except for more experience. And then I've worked with some clients 3 and 4 times by now, and obviously they're always, stepping up in value.
Yeah. We all benefit from 2020 and 2021's appreciation, and prices go up. So if you can last for 20 years, slowly but surely you sell higher price points. Secondly, time in the business. All of a sudden it's not entry-level homes. It's people buying their third round with you, and each time they buy bigger and bigger. And so that's a thing. But then I think you're discounting the fact that you did very intentionally in the last few years choose to start working yourself more and more into the luxury space.
Yes.
That has to be a part of the average sale price as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I want to ask you, because I've actually got questions written out here.
Okay.
I'm here to be a student because I feel like I have to learn now from the master. You have surpassed me by a long shot.
Over here giggling.
It feels good, doesn't it? So, and I probably should have prepped you for this, because we'll see how you do. So what would you say, and in no particular order, has been the biggest contributors? Like what would you say has contributed to your success in the last 20 years?
I'm very grateful for the method that was really put in front of me the day I started at Century 21. So the day I got my real estate license was my first day at Century 21. So I think that's rare in itself to be with the same brokerage for 20 years, although it's not that rare in our company, but to be with the same brokerage for 20 years, but also starting back then it was 100 Days to Greatness in week 1.
VHS cassettes.
Yeah.
With that roll-in TV.
Yes. In the back room on 16th Street. And so I'm grateful for that coaching. And, I think Joe was a mentor at that point and was running those classes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that I would have ended up in a relational sort of way of doing business regardless, but that coaching really struck home with me. And obviously I've continued it. I'm still in coaching to this day, which is crazy, right? So that I can say is a huge contributor, is just doing business by referral and keeping a database and, consistently working that database.
You really did take that from day one and deploy it as your MO. It's been your game plan from the beginning. You really haven't wavered from it. I think there was 1 or 2 conversations along the way.
We are talking about the same ones. Yes.
Where you had moments of weakness.
Yes.
But you always got back on this particular horse.
Yeah. And it just always comes down to the fundamentals, and people staying in front of people and communication and using those different methods of communication with your database, with your people who like, know, and trust you.
I want to push for, I love that response. I think you're...
Did I get that one right? You said, let's see how well you do.
I think you got that perfectly
okay,
right.
Good.
I mean, I've watched you, because I was just a couple years ahead of you in terms of when I started, but I watched you guys take that course. I watched you guys get coached that way, and I was a little bit more on a listing game at the time. But it didn't take me long to realize that what you guys had there was super powerful. And so obviously we adopted that right away. I went and got my mentorship when I was in JDR. And yeah, we've taught this ever since, right? So I couldn't agree more. I've loved watching that part of your story because you've embodied work by referral from the beginning. I want to push for others. What else would you say is a major contributor to your success? I was going to text you before and say, hey, I'm warning you, this is a question that's coming. No, what else pops in your mind?
Well, I just think I have inherently a strong work ethic. Like I don't give up, and good or bad, I'm kind of stubborn in that way, and I'm competitive. So it makes sense to have a career that's based on, what I get out of it is what I put into it.
You're wired that way.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. I can probably take a few risks that maybe other people can't or won't want to.
What do you mean you can?
I just am comfortable with it.
Okay. You're not afraid.
No. And so I guess I have a lot of drive, and it's not money. Money is nice. And yes, I have like some things that it takes, you've got to have money to do them, but, it's probably more like approval and relationships, but approval within the relationships. Like it would kill me to know if somebody was not happy with me or does not like me. And of course, over the 20 years, there's probably been some people who have not been happy with me. But I don't like that feeling.
I feel like we're not going to go there, but this is like the little girl, Megan, that's seeking approval. Do you know what you are? Are you a 3? Are you an achiever?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that has actually been monumental in understanding why I am the way I am.
Yeah.
And it's a legit personality, like it's a thing. And it's helped to know what other people are to understand why they behave the way they do.
You are fiercely driven, and a lot of our top producers are. It is interesting figuring out that they're driven by slightly different things. Like you saying that yours is about approval. I think I've seen different manifestations of this.
For sure.
So very good. So far, that's an A, both A's.
Okay.
Can you give me one more? I think people would be fascinated by this because they've watched you climb.
Do you know the answer?
No, of course not.
What is it?
No. That's not what I meant.
Okay, so drive, working by referral. Well, I think I said it, but like not giving up.
Oh man.
I have an incredible support system who keeps me driven. So that's probably it too.
You're gonna name the who?
Mr. Tim Mitchum and Nicole and everyone that surrounds her. Like I feel like we have a lot of people rooting for us. We've made a lot of strides in our social media game this last year, and people notice, and that feels good. And so I feel like, all that package, and I also feel like it's hard because we're always trying to add. Like, what are we going to add? What can we take away? Nothing. We have to keep adding. So, it's definitely a balance, but, I think I have a desire to not say no and, to finish. The middle gets muddy sometimes, but.
What do you mean by not saying no?
Well, I would probably never turn work away. I don't think I would.
Be fun to have a Tim in your corner because he's a challenger and.
Oh no, he's 3 different ones. So he's like everything.
No, sorry. I meant challenger more in reference to a book, The Challenger Sale. I'm not sure what he is in terms of his Enneagram, but I know he's the kind of guy that whatever you say, he's going to push you and he's going to say, well, how would you do that? How's it going to work? Like, what's your strategy going to be? And so you've already got the drive, and to have him in your corner and in your ear, I know he's a super smart guy. So, you two are kind of a force to be reckoned with, I imagine.
It's fun. I mean, we have a lot of fun ideas, and, the difference between he and I is like, he can have an idea and like tomorrow have it all mapped out and halfway developed and done, and all he has to do is record it or something. Like me, I have to think about it, plan it out. I'm slower at those things, but
okay. A+, good job on your answers. I mean, there was no way you could be wrong, but I love all of those. So do me this favor. Your first answer, working by referral, pitch it. Pitch the benefits of working by referral and why any other agent should absolutely go that path.
Okay, so 1, people want to do business with those that they know, like, and trust, and who better than your sphere or all of the people that you know. So I think like day 1 is literally create a database, a spreadsheet, whatever, of all of your connections and go through all the activities that you do in your life, all of the family members that you know, everything, and write those people down. And those become your sphere. They're the ones who should be easiest to talk to because you already know them, versus like a cold calling scenario or something like that. Number two, I think it gives you a purpose and a direction on literally what to come and do every day at work when you don't know what to do. I think like part of that class was, every day give your business card to like 5 people or something, which
that's what you had to do early on.
I think so. Or like, send out notes to people, which can get hard after, 3 days or something. But I think it gives a direction and a purpose to, what you should be doing and spending your time on. And still to this day, like we all should be spending our time and our energy and our resources on, the A+ clients, the people who are going to repeatedly refer. And so it hasn't changed much. It's just, gone up a few levels, trying to be creative and what to do with those A+ people. How much is too much communication? Right now, I'm kind of struggling with how many emails is okay to send to the database. I hate seeing the unsubscribe. If I get my MailChimp report and it says, 3 people unsubscribed, I'm like crushed. Although I mean, I do it too, but like literally crushed.
That's the magic of a person.
I want to know who was it. No, I don't want to know who it was. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, but with Mimosa Monday and your client events and all of that, you've got a pretty intentional email campaign, and that's going to result in unsubscribes. I was going to say that's the beautiful thing about a personal note is no one unsubscribes to those.
Right.
Are you still on those?
I still send personal notes, not
as religiously as before.
No, not like 10 a day or a week or something, but when it warrants, yes. But I do believe, yes, because I don't throw away notes that I get. I mean, they'll sit around on my counter for a few days and then maybe I eventually will. But
so what else have you learned about working by referral?
I feel like you have something in your
mind. No. I just think that you've embodied it. I think you've done it.
Yeah.
And I think that it starts, like you said, the course was very, not rudimentary, but it gave you a job. And I remember one of the big distinctions was the difference between word of mouth versus working by referral. That was this big thing that he plugged. Word of mouth is where you hope you hand the business card to someone. You hope that they're going to bump into someone. They're going to have the card on them. They're going to maybe remember to call you. Working by referral was intentionally creating connection, care, and community, and what we now call building a tribe of advocates. And I think that when I think of the phrase that we made up, building a tribe of advocates, I think of your sphere. I think of your database. I think of what do you call it again? Building a fence around your people.
Yes.
And you've done that.
But I feel like it's just having these troops on the ground that are advocating for you, like with a little, you want to say with a megaphone or something. Yeah. They're out, and not probably to that extreme, obviously, but when a referral comes in or somebody calls and says, oh, hey, I got your name from so-and-so, it is like the most rewarding thing ever. And then you want to reward those people for doing that action.
Which is fun to get to do.
Which is fun. Yeah. Yeah. And so like, I'm just trying to be a little bit more creative with that action. Like, what is it that we do? I thought, oh gosh, okay, I'm going to start like taking these people, women or whatever. I was like, oh, let's get them a pedicure and we'll go together and then it'll be FaceTime and whatever. So the first time I was like, got a referral and I texted this gal and I was like, hey, I'd love to treat you to a pedicure. Let me know it might work for you. And she was like, no, thanks. I don't really, I'm like, okay. Like, so I was like, okay, maybe that's not the way to go, because I think I go off of my own experience with going through all the gift cards that we found in a drawer. And I was like, okay, we're going to try to use all these gift cards that we have. And
sorry, what do you mean found in a drawer?
At home. So let me back up. So for like a referral, I would send a gift card to the person who referred with a note, right? In my own experience at home, I found a drawer containing a bunch of gift cards
that you've
were
never
like,
used.
oh my gosh, we should make a real effort to try and use these gift cards. Well, almost all of them are unusable because either they whatever expired, or the company doesn't use that platform anymore, or they've changed ownership, or very disappointing. So I'm like, well, gift cards are just like, if they don't use them, now I'm spending money on the gift cards that.
So the insight there is to try and figure out something that was actually more applicable or valuable to the people.
Yeah, that kind of got long and strung out. But yeah, like
so
what can be more personal?
What's working? What do you think is, maybe let me ask the question that way. You've done this now for 20 years.
Yeah, I think it's like, let's go to lunch or something, or let's do the pedicure. Maybe I'll try again with pedicure. Someone else maybe will take me up on it. But
earlier on, you said something about, I don't know, consistent. You didn't say consistency, just that you've stuck with it. You didn't quit. I'm having that insight a lot lately, 20 something years into this business, and watching people in and out, come and go. And I'm not saying that all of winning is just staying alive, but I do think that a big part of winning is just staying alive. Mm-hmm. And if you can have a decent plan and do a decent amount of activity and do a good job with your people, not brilliant, not perfect, just good, and you can do that consistently over time, there's a compounding effect.
Oh, for sure.
Of just staying in the game long enough and riding the wave as you kind of build the pyramid of opportunity underneath yourself. And because, I mean, I don't know, give yourself an out of 10 on how well you've actually executed calls, notes, pop-bys, and client parties. What would you give yourself? If you were the coach and you were ranking you and you know all the stuff that you are and aren't doing, what would you score yourself?
I mean, I would probably give myself an 8.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
And you've been consistent at that 8 over time.
Yes.
But every single week, every month, every year, you kind of beat yourself up about the
all the time.
I need to be doing more. But what you've done is 7 or 8, whatever it is, over a consistent period of time.
Yeah.
And the exponential impact of that, I think, is what people fail to understand, how powerful that really is. Perfect's always the enemy, and especially driven people like you and me and others. We're just always, I mean, even today when you walked in here, you walked in here with your, can I say this?
Yes.
Little beaten down, little like, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling super pumped up right now. And I've watched you on that cycle for so long. And it's a little bit of like, look off the back of the boat, chasing the horizon. The goalposts never stop moving. There's always more to be done. And yet you're crushing it. But there's this psychosis going on inside of us.
And do you remember the golden circle where, you know, everybody's talking about, you know, what they're doing and stuff. And then I'm like, I feel like such a loser. And then I felt really bad for saying that. But I think I literally go through that roller coaster fairly often. Yeah.
I just believe it's part of the ingredients that creates greatness.
Yeah.
You have to be a little kooky. And the unfortunate downside of that is that you're always moving the goalposts. And so you don't want to get rid of it.
It's the same thing as like, you know, finding balance. That just isn't possible. You're always balancing. We're not going to find the balance.
Yeah, it's an infinitive.
It's always moving. It's always changing, and just adapting, I think, is part of that.
So you good with my new name for that? Realtor seasonal psychosis disorder? Yes. I think it's what syndrome?
For sure.
I've watched you do that a lot over the years.
Yeah.
And I mean, would it be fair to say that you're pretty prone to a regular cycle of that? Like your Januaries always suck.
Oh, yeah.
You hate January.
And February too, sometimes. And I think, you know, every year I say, oh my gosh, I just need to get out of town. I just need to
travel every January.
Yes, because if I don't have anything planned, I don't have anything to look forward to. And then I just sit and, you know, wish stuff was happening. But I am really good at celebrating too. Like, so yes, the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows.
Have you found a solution, or is there any part of that psychosis that you've been working on lately, other than just the plan to travel for 2 months, which I actually think is not a terribly illegitimate idea. Jen and I are increasingly just trying to not be in town for at least 2-3 weeks in January or February every year.
Well, I don't know that I could do that, but yeah, I think that just having something to look forward to. I've always been that way.
Yeah.
I just have to have something like a little trip planned or like a thing that is like, just got to get through this and then we can go.
Tell us about your foray into this luxury space over the last few years.
Oh, well,
Whole new thing, pretty big.
yeah. I mean, I think that increasingly in some of the networks or the circles that I've been focused on professionally, there's been a luxury focus, and it's been really fun. I really, really enjoy it. It's uber hard, and it just takes longer to get, it takes a lot longer, that cycle. And so then I think the psychosis is maybe a little bit worse.
Well, that's a lot of pressure and tension.
It's a lot of pressure. And I feel like, so this kind of started a little over 2 years ago when, I was introduced to the development of lots and then, some of the higher listings. And I literally got these 2 really large listings within a week. They went online within a week of each other. And I'm like, oh, what did I do? But I'm like a little over my skis here. Like, what am I going to do differently? And so the marketing efforts are, I think, a lot different. The way, things are, the way you talk about things is a little bit different. And now I kind of feel like I'm in that same boat where I just took 2 more listings that I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And so it's the pressure for sure. It's the pressure on myself. Because I want those sellers to be happy with me and what I'm doing and ultimately sell the home and be number 1 again and all that. But
you're anticipating a notably longer days on market
for
and
sure.
just marketing cycle.
I mean, years, not months,
Correct.
Years.
What's the bigger challenge there? Is it you getting your head in that game, or is it making sure that the sellers understand that cycle?
Gosh, I almost feel like the sellers do understand the cycle. It's probably me in my head.
Mm-hmm. That one agree. I knew the answer to. And I'm interested in that just because I think everywhere right now, realtors need to get their head wrapped around days on market because it's shifting in every price point. And you have been around long enough to remember 120 to 180 days cycles. The luxury space has always been a little bit longer, and I think high-end sellers do understand that takes a while. But we have to adapt our thinking. Otherwise, we're just bringing in a bunch of extra baggage into a context, and I think we're less capable at what we need to do.
I think I'm influenced too by a group of people who are working in this luxury space, day in, day out. That's all they do. And, they're second home markets. They may have multiple offers on these listings. And so I kind of have to step back and, remind myself Des Moines is not a second home market. It's a little bit different. This is Iowa. We do have these people there, but they're very conservative and, so it's a different buying pattern for sure. But I feel lucky to be a part of some of these networks that are doing those things. And that's the reason for joining is just to be around agents who are working in that space. So I can just, learn and grow and talk about it and, implement some new things that maybe aren't being done here.
Are you open to sharing the networks that you're a part of?
So the first one that I, took part in was the Institute of Luxury Home Marketing. And that there's a designation. I went to a conference that called Leaders in Luxury a couple of years ago, and it was really, really amazing because I was used to going to these conferences where there's like 3,000 people or, 1,000 people. And I kind of started to shy away from those larger conferences and go to something a little bit smaller and more intimate where there could be more masterminding that goes along with it. So this Leaders in Luxury conference was in Chicago a couple of years ago, and there was 80 people. And so you're sitting at tables of 8 or 10, and you got to know these agents really well. And some of my good friends in the real estate space from all over the country started at that conference. And then I did join Realm 2 years ago and participate in calls every week
And that's more than just a network. That's an actual infrastructure, a referral network.
A referral network that, they don't document referrals. There's, it's just agent to agent relationships. But there's calls every week with topics. There's a convention that we took part in that was just last week in Palm Beach. And I told Tim when I got home, I said, this conference felt so much different than last year, because last year I was the newcomer. And although I had spent a year on calls, on Zoom with a lot of these people and knew them, when I went last year, I kind of felt like I was, walking up to a group of people and just kind of inserting myself in the conversation, which was fine. It was great. Everybody's very welcoming. But this year I felt like that was just so much easier.
Was that about knowing people, or was that about imposter syndrome?
Both, but probably last year imposter for sure. This year more just knowing people.
Because it seems like in the last year you've certainly produced the goods.
Yeah.
And I think you feel a little more qualified to be in a space.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you're just very relational. You're also kind of not introverted, but you're not I guess I don't know how to peg you exactly.
I do not know.
Yeah, it depends on the day, because you're good at a party and you can handle yourself with a huge crowd, especially when you're on stage and whatever. But I think that you're also a no nonsense lady that frankly doesn't want to do a lot of chit chat or small talk. You're kind of down to business, right?
Yeah, probably so. But I also like, there's at some point I maybe have enough of it and I'm like, I'm going back to my room. Like, I'm just going to go to bed, so I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. Am I an introverted extrovert or
I'm
vice versa? I don't know what I am.
I'm like on the cusp between both. That's why I always confuse people when I say I'm an introvert, because they assume I'm not because I'm on stage and I'm talking a lot, but I actually am dying inside and just want to go to my room. You know the feeling.
Yes, but I don't. I'm not dying inside. I usually like it.
Well, you guys are just social, and you're. I mean, I don't know where you're playing. I went to this most recent one. The Part-Time Pirates.
Oh.
I mean, those contexts for me, the amount of just small talk and number of people's hands you have to shake and know everyone's. I just think you guys are crazy, and I think it's really cool that you do that. So I don't need to.
There you go. Okay. But those would be the two networks for me that I have poured.
You found value out of those?
Yes.
It's been good?
More so Realm than the Institute, but that was probably just more of a launching point that I still belong to and will participate in and such.
And you've got this dialed in, or it sounds like you're still working on trying to figure out there's no arriving here, but it's a constant game of trying to figure out how to effectively market these high-end properties. And then earlier on, you were talking about really hunting down and trying to find buyers for them. There's a little bit more manual work to do.
Yeah, I want to be the person that people call when they're looking for high-end inventory. And how do I position myself? I don't really know. I'm working on that.
Yeah, both. I'm speculating here, but both because that allows you to serve people that are buying, but also because it helps you find buyers for your listings.
That, and it helps find more listings too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got people looking for things.
So the amount of work and time and effort that I know you've been putting into this luxury market, does that mean that you're intentionally working yourself a little bit more out of entry-level purchasing or listing, or is it a either or? Is it a both and? How
right
do you
now
view
it's both and. In a perfect world, I would like to have, and I have started to do that too.
With your team?
With my team. Yeah. Yep. But I think I kind of led on to earlier, and maybe I can explain this a little bit better, in that I don't if somebody calls me, I inherently want to help them. So it's hard for me to still refer.
Don't want to say no.
Yeah.
Especially referrals.
What I'm finding is that when I do get those calls or texts or emails to see something, or, hey, we want to do this or sell or buy, whatever, they're like, can you or someone from your team?
They get it.
Uh-huh. And that's probably what's been more eye-opening.
Liberating.
We all think, oh, they call me because they want to work with me, which they do, but I think they understand that there's a team structure now that we're working with.
That sounds like
which is cool.
Good news.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got a few more questions. I suppose we've got to start wrapping up at some point. I feel like I could probably talk to you for a few hours. Looking back then, any big thoughts on things you wish you'd done differently?
Well, I would have handled some offers on a property differently last week, but
any regrets?
I don't know. No.
Anything that slowed you down a lot during your path?
No. I can't think of anything.
I like it.
I often live by that, like no regrets. Like
Yeah,
their experiences, their learning, they help shape what you decide to do in the future. Nothing really stands out.
I wouldn't call you woo-woo.
I would sometimes.
This whole manifesting
Yes.
thing, I mean, that is sort of how, I don't even know if it's a belief set that you've cognitively bought into, but I think it's just how you've organized your world, where you just keep the positive in front of you. You keep the dream and the hope and the thing that you want to accomplish in front of you. And you've done well at maybe shutting out voices so that you can just stay focused on what's possible. And then, what did you say earlier? Then you get lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were on or off recording when you said that, and that's interesting to me because I do think that lucky happens, and you also position yourself for lucky.
Yes. And so when I quote unquote, something happens and I feel like I just got lucky, you made a good point in that, well, you have the, say it's the listings or the work or the whatever in front of you for that to happen more often. So that makes sense. And it is luck a lot, right? It is, I guess.
There's an element of that to everything.
But I think that's part of that imposter syndrome is like, did I really do anything different than anybody else would? I don't know. So I just got lucky, but.
Well, you were doing it and
yeah.
other people weren't. And so there was no opportunity for the people who weren't doing it to get lucky.
There you go.
We should probably stop talking about getting lucky. So what's your next big challenge?
Could be the title of this podcast.
Getting lucky?
Get lucky.
Actually, I like it. Let's do that.
Okay.
Are you actually okay with that?
Yes.
What's next? When I remember early days, it was you were busy getting your pilot's license.
Oh, yes.
And for as long as I've known you, you've had some challenge in front of you that you've wanted, because I think that's part of your woo-woo game that you play. And now lately it's been this luxury thing. What's next on the list?
What's next?
What's exciting you?
Oh, I think I need to figure that out. Because I can be a big talker and I can say, oh, for my 50th birthday, I'm going to take all my friends on a yacht. Like, I think that sounds amazing. Am I really going to do that? I don't know.
Sounds like a good reason to be a friend of yours.
I feel like where I would like to see things is having a team that is, dedicated, consistent, fully trust them to take on more business. That's where I see, I think, myself and my team heading. I spent a lot of time thinking this last week because there was a speaker who said, if you're not in your business, if you're not there, is it still running? And I thought about that a lot. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not there, but I'm really still here. Like, I'm still working. If I were to step away for a week, what would happen? Well, I would go crazy, but what would happen? And that's a scary thought to me. So that didn't really answer your question about what I'm excited about.
No, it sounds like you're focused right now on trying to build a team that is a team and is a business. It works without you. I can play both sides of that game. I've heard all those speeches, and obviously I'm all about building a business, and a business is something that runs when you don't. And if it's only you, then you don't have a business. You're just a salesperson. I also heard the exact opposite. I just got done reading, this was about a year ago, but I read Steve Jobs' memoir or biography. And there was somebody else I was listening to. I wish I could remember right now, but essentially it was the exact opposite. Yes, you need to run a better business. And yes, you need to have processes so that the systems run the business and the people run the systems. All of that stuff I preach and I live and I work on every single day. Also, I want to work. Mm-hmm. And also I love the game and I love what I do and I love building something. And it's sort of a lie that I have to build something that magically works without me. Frankly, I want to build something that I get to work in and it still needs me. And if it never needs me, then what am I doing? And so I don't know. Sometimes I do think these wonderful speeches that we hear have a little bit of esoteric pie in the sky to them. Mm-hmm. And it's just dirty. It's messy. It's complicated. There is no perfect thing. Steve Jobs left Apple and had to come back because apparently it didn't work that well without him, at least the first round. So maybe that's just me trying to let you off the hook there a little bit.
It makes me feel better.
Well,
but that's true because we talk a lot about, retirement, and I think I'll never really retire. I think I'd be bored. I am bored if I don't have anything to do. Yeah. And when I don't have anything to do and I'm home by myself, I will work, and I enjoy that. Yeah. I mean, I like sitting on my computer and catching up. Like catching up is like the greatest feeling in the world. But like we were in Florida for something a couple months ago, and we had some free time, and Tim was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, what I really want to do is go to sit in the lobby and work on our computers. And he was like, "Okay."
Because it feels great to get to a place where everything's taken care of.
Yeah,
and you're
I
on
think
it.
I just had this anxiety that things were building up, and that happens quite a bit. But to be able to just stay on top of things, that makes me feel better about doing other things.
I think everyone needs to know themselves. And I think people like you and people like me, I think we're just wound to love building things and we want a challenge. Mm-hmm. And the idea of sitting on a beach with millions in the bank, sipping on whatever it is, margaritas, that sounds terrific for about 48 hours. Mm-hmm. And then I think I'd just start dying inside. So I think the real secret is to have the vacations planned and go do the stuff you want to do, but then organize your world in a way that you get to love your job and you get to love building what you're building, and you get to do it with people you enjoy being around, and you get to invest in them and grow them. And I don't know, increasingly that's the dream for me. Mm-hmm. And I'll sip the cocktails in between, for at most a week. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where it goes next.
Me too.
I know it's the middle of the year now, and you're pretty head down. I know you're pretty busy too. Mm-hmm. Any final? I'll open the door for words of wisdom. Why don't I let you close with? Well, okay, it's the largest producer we've had. Significant numbers, huge win last year. I've put you on the pedestal of working by of what did I say? Embodying working by referral. Mm-hmm. So I'd be remiss if I didn't let you close with just some words of advice to anyone who would like to be you one day when they grow up.
Oh my gosh. I think it just takes persistence. And in my mind, it's all about the fundamentals. I mean, I just can't stress that enough. Like the shiny things come and go. And for me, that, at one point was like, oh, maybe I need to go advertise on Zillow. Maybe I need to go buy this. And I still get that way every once in a while. Not about buying leads, but like the next thing, like that will help me, transform my business or make it easier or more organized or whatever. But I think it's just literally sticking with the fundamentals and being consistent and head down. I mean, I have had several times where you've called and said, "Hey, where's your head at? Where are you at with things?" And I'm like, I'm good. I'm motivated. I really want to put my head down while others are not, or others might be freaking out. I'm going to go out there and just do what I always do. That wasn't very profound, but
actually it sounds like a really good way to make sure you get lucky. So
there you go.
Appreciate all your time today. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. For more episodes, resources, and show notes, head to morethanmorepodcast.com.